For the day in the Capitol without a deal in place, putting a 2-year spending plan in jeopardy. What this could mean for the state ahead. And a volunteering veteran injured during a robbery last week at Walmart is set to go back and continue helping other veterans. You're going to hear from him coming up. Welcome to WKYT News at 4. I'm Amber Philpott reporting for you. A rainy and windy day so far in the Bluegrass. Take a look. This is a live picture now of downtown Lexington. We have a strong cold front moving across the region, bringing with it some high winds and some strong thunderstorms potentially. And that's why we've declared the day a first alert severe weather day. We want to check in now with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey. Chris, not a
No, it really isn't. Early in the day, we had those showers and thunderstorms. This afternoon, though, the sun is breaking out across the region. That's not a good thing because that's kind of giving us more instability in the atmosphere for additional thunderstorms to develop and work our way. You see the sun right now, Hamburg Pavilion, 72 degrees. Lexington, humidity's way up there. Winds are still gusting 32 miles an hour. Earlier today, we had those winds that were gusting 50 to 55 miles per hour. 70s across the entire area. That isn't a good thing because look what is out to our west. Lines of strong and severe thunderstorms developing across western Kentucky. Right now getting all kinds of wind damage reports coming out of Davies and Breckenridge County area. Breckenridge County Middle School apparently hard hit by severe thunderstorms a little earlier this afternoon, I should say. Wind damage, the roof ripped off the gym there. Don't know if the kiddos are in school or on spring break. We'll keep you up to date on that. That line of strong and severe thunderstorms now taking aim at the Louisville metro area. We go into 3D Defender mode to show you those storms are building up in the atmosphere, not as tall as what we were seeing a little bit ago. It could be a sign of some slight weakening. Let's hope that is the case. Another round of thunderstorms now coming out of northern Tennessee, taking aim toward Bowling Green. Look at parts of Illinois. That's another round of thunderstorms that'll zip its way across the area. Greatest chance for severe weather is I-75 and west. That's where the Storm Prediction Center has that slight risk out. Smaller risk across sections of eastern Kentucky. New hour-by-hour future Defender radar is in, and that initial cluster of thunderstorms weakens, gives way to a couple more bands of some strong and potentially severe thunderstorms working across the region right on into the middle of the overnight. When I come back in a few minutes, we'll break down each threat that we're facing from these thunderstorms, not only for tonight, but into the wee hours of tomorrow. Amber, that's in about 15 minutes.
All right, we will see you then, Chris. Thank you. State lawmakers have deadlocked again on budget negotiations and say that a deal before the end of the legislative session is unlikely. House Speaker Greg Stumbo announced this morning that lawmakers have reached an impasse on the negotiations, and that decision could end up costing Kentucky taxpayers thousands of dollars. WKYT's Victor Puente is in the state capitol with more on what this means for Kentucky.
There are only 2 legislative days left in this session. One of them is tomorrow. Lawmakers had hoped to pass a budget then, but disagreements over education cuts have kept that from happening. On Tuesday, both House Speaker Greg Stumbo and Senate President Robert Stivers told me that if they had an agreement by noon today, they'd be able to pass a budget tomorrow. Just before 11 o'clock, Stumbo told reporters they'd reached an impasse and wouldn't come to that agreement today. The Republican-led Senate bill would follow Governor Bevin's plan to cut education funding. Bevin says the cuts are needed to help pay for the state's $30 billion in pension debt. The Democratically controlled House has said they would not pass a budget that cut funding to education, even after the Senate agreed to a 4.5% cut instead of the 9% Bevin initially asked for. They'd said they fear the cuts would lead to a rise in tuition. At a press conference earlier today, Bevin said he still believed a budget could be passed before time ran out.
The budget does not need to be finalized until the 12th based on the current calendar. By statute, by the 15th. We still have 2 weeks to get a budget done.
Stumbo said the only way they'd pass a budget within that time frame now was if Bevin promised not to veto certain parts of the budget that they pass. Bevin has said everything is still on the table, but he wouldn't make any promises. In Frankfort, Victor Puente, WKYT.
If a budget isn't passed, Governor Bevin would have to call a special session, which would cost taxpayers about $70,000 a day. Today, Governor Bevin also addressed concerns about the rollout of Kentucky's new public benefit system. Hundreds of Kentuckians received erroneous notices that their benefits are being cut off. An executive with Deloitte Consulting, which developed the new computer system called Benefine, says thousands of letters went out with incorrect information to beneficiaries. Those benefits include Medicaid and food stamps. You're going to hear from Governor Bevin on the issue ahead on WKYT News at 5. The parents of a boy hit and killed by a Whitley County school bus last year have filed a wrongful death lawsuit. 10-year-old Jonathan Chatham had just gotten off the bus when he was hit last March. The News Journal reports the suit names the school district, the bus driver, and several school officials. Back in December, a grand jury opted not to indict the bus driver in the crash. We'll have more details surrounding that lawsuit ahead for you on WKYT News at 5:30. We're working on a number of other stories for you on WKYT starting at 4:30. Sam Dick joins us now from the newsroom with a look at some of the news in progress. Hello, Sam.
Good afternoon, Amber. The man who police say stole money from veterans is in police custody now. They say that David Kirk Jr. turned himself in this morning. Dispatch told officers to pick up Kirk from the Bryan Station Kroger after he contacted a detective. Police had a warrant out for Kirk's arrest. They say he robbed Veterans Outreach outside of the New Circle Road Walmart last week, injuring a veteran in the process.
It wasn't much of a thought. It was just a reaction of somebody trying to steal the money that we went overseas and we fought for, and we come back hurt, and we come back with mental problems. We need that money.
Rodney Brock is set to volunteer at the same Walmart location again next week. He says he's thankful for the opportunity. We'll have more on this story ahead on WKYT News at 5. Today, the Berea Chamber of Commerce announced the 20th annual Spoonbread Festival will be canceled because of safety concerns. Controversy began in Berea after the mayor said before he gives city money for this year's festival, he wants assurances that no merchandise featuring the Confederate flag will be sold at the event. The Chamber of Commerce said this sparked protests that led to safety concerns. They also said the Chamber of Commerce is a nonpartisan business entity that cannot take sides on issues like the Confederate flag. We'll have more on the decision to cancel the Spoonbread Festival on WKYT News at 5 o'clock. An attraction left in ruins now has multiple investors interested in the property. The founder of the Muddy Roots Music Festival and owner of Muddy Roots Records is one of those strongly interested in buying Funtown Mountain, located in Barron County, at auction and making it into a music-intensive theme park focusing on country, bluegrass, and Americana music. We'll hear about his vision ahead on WKYT News at 4:30. That's a quick look at some of the news in progress. Amber, back to you.
Sam, thank you. Chipotle might be expanding their menu, what you could soon be ordering ahead in WKYT Money Watch. And Microsoft is making Star Wars-like holograms a reality. The details ahead on WKYT.
Dare to compare. This LG 49-inch LED TV is $449 at H.H. Gregg and only $399 at P-Rack. Save $170 over Lowe's on this Maytag washer. Plus free gift cards up to $500.
Nobody beats P-Racks. Want to save energy and money? By replacing an older refrigerator or freezer, you can save hundreds of dollars on your energy costs. And we'll pick up and recycle the old one for free. Turn that old appliance into cash. To schedule your pickup, call today. Licking Valley RECC and Cumberland Valley Electric, your Touchstone Energy cooperatives.
March is matchup month at your local Ford store. The reigning champ is favored again. Ford returns as America's best-selling brand. The new Ford Focus is a smart choice over Honda Civic with impressive highway fuel economy, plus available active park assist, next-generation hands-free sync technology, and more. Focus is a winner, just named a Consumer's Digest Best Buy. Now get a new Focus with 0% financing for 60 months plus $2,000 bonus cash at your local Ford store now.
It's ancient Greece. You're a shepherd tending your flock and you're hungry. You reach into your loincloth and remove 2 euros you bought for 6 iron coins. As you take your first bite, you notice a disturbance in the flock. A lion has taken sweet Euclides. You continue to eat, a lion in your own right. Man, sheep are hard to keep alive. Arby's, we have the meats.
Hello, I'm Rob Bromley, inviting WKYT TV viewers on the vacation of your dreams, a land and cruise tour of Alaska, August 5th to the 18th. We'll stay near Denali National Park and watch for wildlife on a guided park tour. Our vacation includes Anchorage, Fairbanks, the White Pass and Yukon Train, and a 4-night Holland America cruise through Glacier Bay and the Inside Passage. For more information, call Holiday Vacations, 1-800-826-2266.
Hi, checking out the RAV4?
Yep, looking for something fun.
Well, with available Sport Tune suspension, you can turn any trip into an awesome adventure.
Yeah! Yeah! Errands.
Aren't they the best?
It's the final days of Toyota's One for Everyone sales event. Get 0.9% financing on the adventurous 2016 RAV4. Or lease one now for just $199 a month.
Have fun running those errands.
Toyota, let's go places.
Dare to compare. 3-piece reclining group, $19.99. Plus a free 50-inch LED TV. Certa Perfect Sleeper Pillow Top Queen Set, $9.99. Free gift cards up to $500. 5 years, 0 interest and more.
Nobody beats P-Rats. Keep up with the latest news on WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
Chipotle apparently has burgers on its mind. That begins today's Money Watch. The Denver-based chain applied for a trademark for Better Burger. Chipotle, which has more than 2,000 stores, has surged in popularity by touting fresh ingredients and the flexibility to customize orders. That has led to numerous other fast casual restaurant openings. More recently, Chipotle is fighting to recover from a series of food scares that sent sales plunging. Tesla is rolling out the long-awaited Model 3 later today. It's the company's first mass-market electric car, costing about $35,000, half the price of the current Model S. So far, people seem to want it. CEO Elon Musk tweeted a picture of people lining up in Australia to place an order. Well, you've heard of reality, alternate reality, and virtual reality. Now there's an augmented reality. It mixes holograms with real life. Mary Maloney explains how Microsoft is putting the technology to use.
This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
The future, as depicted in Star Wars, may be closer than ever. Microsoft's HoloLens wants to eventually change the way you see and interact with the world. It uses augmented reality, which takes holograms and projects them onto your surroundings, blending the technology with real life. Microsoft showcased its HoloLens product at its annual Build conference. Already a number of companies are experimenting with HoloLens. Among other things, NASA uses the technology to virtually take people to Mars.
Scientists are now using our Mars tool on site in mission operations.
Lowe's helps customers pick out products like cabinets and sinks and uses a hologram to place those products into their kitchens. And the School of Medicine at Case Western Reserve University uses it to teach students.
We've had a small team of 3 computer programmers turning our ideas into reality.
Ideas like using the 3D interactive hologram to study the anatomy, or to virtually transport a professor in another location into the classroom.
The 3 of us can see each other as we're talking, which makes us feel connected. And even though you can only see my head and hands, you get a sense of my body language.
As of now, only developers can get hold of the $3,000 product, but Microsoft hopes others can create apps within HoloLens and eventually market it to the general public. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mary Maloney.
I'm Deanne Stevens, out and about today with some Bryan Station alumni who are on a mission. We'll tell you more when we return here on WKYT.
Severe thunderstorms rumbling into parts of central Kentucky. Some brand new warnings to run down across the BG Parkway corridor. We'll put a track on those storms up next.
The Rush Hour premiere is almost here.
How close are we?
Very. A night of comedy so funny you may die laughing. New Big Bang.
Oh, yeah!
1 hour season finale of Life in Pieces. New Two Broke Girls.
I gotta see it!
And the action-packed series premiere of Rush Hour.
I can't hear what you're saying. I like it that way.
The Thursday Comedy Smackdown. CBS Tonight.
They're coming from all over Kentucky because one of the biggest automotive events ever is back. It's the 4th annual Kentucky Car Fair at Toyota on Nicholasville. Through Monday, save $5,200 off MSRP. Get 0% financing for 60 months or make no payments till summer. It's the 4th annual Kentucky Car Fair at the big Toyota store.
Toyota Nicholasville.
The big Toyota store.
Where price sells cars.
Toyota on Nicholasville.com.
By 2020, 56% of Kentucky jobs will require either a college certificate or a college degree. But only 1 in 4 public college students will graduate on time, and many may not finish at all. You can put the odds in your favor. Just earn 15 credits each semester or 30 a year to finish on time, and save money on tuition. Talk to your advisor and make a plan. Kentucky's colleges and universities agree. Take 15 to finish on time. Get in, get out, get going.
Want to fill your garage with the best value brand in America? Honda's got it during Honda's Dream Garage Sales Event. Get a brand new 2016 CR-V, the #1 selling SUV, just $229 a month. Or drive with 0 down, 0 security, and 0 first month's payment. The 2016 CR-V comes fully loaded with available Honda Lane Watch, brake assist, and more. Just $229 a month or 0 due at signing. Honda's got it at your Central Kentucky Honda dealers.
Tired of painting? Go Rhino, and you'll never have to paint again. Now you can have the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for brick, stucco, wood, or aluminum. And Rhino Shield won't chip, crack, flake, or peel for home or business. Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Chimneys are in a constant state of deterioration, and most will leak at some point. We solve this problem. Don't call a roofer to fix your chimney. Call Barnhill Chimney Company today.
Kentucky mornings start here. Breaking and overnight news, weather to plan your day, plus traffic you can take with you. Make WKYT This Morning part of your Kentucky morning. Weekdays from 4:30 to 7 on WKYT. Get WKYT news and weather updates on Rewind 105.5.
It is a WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day as we track rounds of strong and severe thunderstorms in from west to east. Our severe weather cams now from Louisville to E-Town to Bowling Green are lighting up with thunderstorms pressing into the area. E-Town into the Louisville area, both under severe thunderstorm warnings as of now, and those storms could put down winds greater than 60 to 70 miles per hour. Next in the line of fire potentially would be the Lexington and Frankfort areas. Defender Radar Network getting a workout today. Early day showers and thunderstorms getting on out of town as expected. Sun breaking out in the middle of the day. Now we go into severe weather mode with this next round of thunderstorms that has put down a ton of wind damage across parts of Breckinridge County. Severe thunderstorm warnings are out for the boxes that you see in yellow. That gets all the way as far east as Anderson County. Severe thunderstorm warning until 4:45 for this particular box. That includes LaRue County, Marion, Nelson, and Washington as well. And a part of Shelby County is included in a Louisville Metro severe thunderstorm warning. Winds have been clocked at 50 miles an hour into parts of Hardin County already with this line just over the past 15 minutes or so. Put a storm track on it. The forward movement of these storms racing to the east at 65 miles per hour. They have got some zip as they work toward the east. So in 1 hour from now, at a pace of 65 miles an hour, those storms, if they can hold together, would be blowing into parts of the Lexington Metro. Strongest part of this storm is down the BG Parkway, where the BG meets Interstate 65 here into Elizabethtown, and then northward we go into the Louisville area. Southwest from Bowling Green, northwest of the Nashville area. Thunderstorms, another line gearing up, and there's one more line into parts of Illinois right along our cold front that will make its way in here very late this evening. Winds today as expected. The hour-by-hour wind gust forecast we were showing you yesterday had a few hot spots approaching 50 miles an hour. We had several spots report greater than 50 miles per hour with winds today, including some damage. Right now, those gusts are around 30 to 35 miles an hour. That's outside of thunderstorms. As we go through the evening with those thunderstorms zipping in across the area, coming at us in waves, damaging winds will be the primary player. Any storm may also have some small to medium-sized hail with those. We'll keep an eye on that. Much lower flood threat and severe weather threat. Models are having a tough time really trying to pinpoint these small little clusters of thunderstorms, but you get the overall general trend into early tomorrow morning with that line of thunderstorms that will begin to work on out of town. We go into our Friday afternoon. Friday's a little warmer now because that front slows down just a bit, allowing another little wave of low pressure to bring some rain into southeastern Kentucky Friday night. Saturday morning, 30s to start, and we're into the low 50s by the end of the day, and that's another front that is diving its way on in from the northwest. We get several cold fronts to impact our weather over the next week. Take a look at the numbers. Hard freeze potential Sunday morning, then again as we go into Tuesday morning, and then again by the end of next week. So 3 significant fronts will likely impact the weather across the region over the next week and change. Short term, it's all about the potential for severe weather. We will continue to track it as the evening wears on. Right now, let's get an update on traffic. Here's Officer Don.
Live look outside. Right now, we're okay on the Circle and the Interstate. We just cleared a collision on Clays Mill at New Circle, so we can see that traffic's moving past that point with no major issues. A little red there on South Lime, approaching, looks like approaching Commonwealth Stadium, and of course in front of Fayette Mall. No surprise there. As far as drive times go, right now we're okay coming into or going into Nicholasville, outbound from Lexington. It's about normal. Versailles Road, a lot better situation we had yesterday afternoon. Things are clear near the Parkway. So you're only dealing with about, it looks like 12 minutes to Versailles, 24 minutes to Winchester. Now back to you in the studio.
Officer Don, thank you. We have a story about a group of people rallying behind their former high school teacher to help out her family. It's unique and it could be life-saving. Deanne Stevens is out and about today, joining us from Bryan Station High School to explain. Hi, Deanne.
Good afternoon, guys. We are here at Bryan Station High School, and we're gathered with a whole host of Bryan Station alum. How does it feel to be back in school here, guys?
Oh, it feels great.
Class of?
1966.
And he says it feels great because you don't have to go to class today.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm graduated with him, so, you know.
And you, sir?
I taught here for 3 years, the last year being 1965.
1965. Well, let me tell you why all of these folks are here. It is all in the name of helping others. Joan Pickett used to teach here at Bryan Station High School, and her son is in need of a kidney now. Miss Pickett, this has to make you feel amazing. All these people that are rallying around you and your family. Tell us about it.
It is amazing, but it's traditional for Bryan Station, because they are and always have been a family. And 3 of my former students, graduates in the class of 75, got together and decided they were going to launch a campaign to find a kidney donor for Todd, using Bryan Station as the resource. And it has been amazing.
Well, these are 3 of your students here.
Yeah.
Julie, talk about what you guys are doing in helping Miss Pickett out. And I loved walking in here. You could just see everybody's excitement. Some of you know each other. Some of you graduated a while ago. Some of you graduated just a few years ago. Talk a bit about that and everybody coming together in the name of the Pickett family.
Well, we decided that we were going to have the Bryan Station Nation. And we came together, Jana and Paula and I, to help Miss Pickett to make awareness, you know, the need for kidney donations, and the month of March is Kidney Donation Month. So we just got together and said, let's go, let's get everybody rallied up and get a kidney for Todd.
Jana, you and Julie kind of reached out to folks, and you've got them all here together. Talk a bit about that, and where do we go from here? How do folks help out?
Well, I'll tell you, when Miss Pickett reached out to me, and then the next thing you know, I'm calling my classmates because we just finished a big reunion, and I knew Paula had all the contacts and is a big part of the Alumni Association, and we just said, well, how can we ever tell our teacher no, our former teacher? So we got together, we've met with Miss Pickett several times and Todd, and came up with this, and now we're just rolling with it.
Paula, how can folks help out if there's Bryan Station alumni out there, or just anybody that is willing to help?
Well, we have a website set up where you can go out and get more information and be connected with the University of Kentucky and be tested to become a donor. But I think most important is that we need to get out the awareness that you can be a live kidney donor, because I wasn't aware of that. So usually, you know, you think of it in other ways.
Well, there's all kinds of things to learn from what's happening here at Bryan Station High School. We have some current members of the high school here, the principal even. They're learning all kinds of things, not only about giving to one another, but about giving a kidney. We're going to meet Todd when we return here at 4:50, and more from the folks here at Bryan Station. I'm Deanne Stevens, out and about. Back to you guys.
Doctors announced the first ever HIV to HIV liver transplant. The details in Better Living. Plus, why you should add beans and chickpeas to your diet if you're looking to shed a few pounds. Tomorrow night's Mega Millions jackpot is $50 million, and Saturday night's Powerball jackpot is $135 million.
This time of year, everyone in the Lexington area is excited because they know it's time for the Burke Furniture March Markdown Madness Sale. Slam dunk huge savings up to 60% off in every department.
A beautiful home begins at Burke's.
Welcome to Strength and Performance from Cub Cadet, the proven innovator of award-winning zero-turn riders. Welcome to a dealer in your community who offers superior service and expert advice. The only place to buy a Cub Cadet zero-turn with the ease of steering wheel control. Plus, 0% APR for 36 months with equal payments. Welcome to Strongsville. To find a locally owned Cub Cadet dealer near you, visit CubCadetDealers.com.
Touch, explore together at Newport Aquarium.
Clients come into the office. The government has said, no, I don't believe you. You're not disabled.
The major problem with Social Security disability is that most people who sign up are denied at the initial level. If your claim's denied, don't give up. Call us immediately. We'll appeal your case.
We can do an effective job of representing you that will get you the benefits that you deserve.
Call Morgan, Collins, and Yeast, 1-800-55-WILDCAT.
Hit me at 35 miles an hour. There's a 45% chance I'll die. Slow down to 25 and I'll probably live. A little extra speed is a lot more deadly. Slow down, Lexington.
This time of year, everyone in the Lexington area is excited because they know it's time for the Burke Furniture March Markdown Madness Sale. Slam dunk huge savings up to 60% off in every department.
A beautiful home begins at Burke's.
It is time now for Better Living, health, education, and consumer news that impacts your life. Surgeons at Johns Hopkins have successfully performed the world's first ever HIV to HIV liver transplant. The recipient has been HIV positive for 25 years. In the past, HIV-infected organs have been thrown away. Eating one serving of beans, chickpeas, or lentils could contribute to modest weight loss. Researchers found those who added about 3/4 of a cup of these foods each day to their diet without reducing any other foods lost about 3/4 of a pound over a 6-week period. Study authors say this small change may help people lose weight by feeling fuller, and it could also help reduce bad cholesterol levels. Trader Joe's crispy cookies filled with Belgian chocolate look a bit too much like Milano cookies for Pepperidge Farm's liking. The companies have now ended a months-long dispute about the rival sandwich cookies, reaching an out-of-court settlement. The terms of the deal reached earlier this month were not disclosed. The cookies, which look similar in appearance and share the same basic ingredients, were the subject of a federal lawsuit filed in December. Pepperidge Farm even took issue with the exterior and interior packaging. An attorney for Pepperidge Farm said the parties reached a mutually satisfactory resolution of the dispute and have agreed to make no further comments on the matter. Comedian and talk show host Whoopi Goldberg is getting into the marijuana business. She, along with co-founder Maya Elizabeth, are launching a new medical marijuana company. It's based in California and called Whoopi and Maya. Their products will mainly target women who suffer from painful menstrual cramps. But the co-founders say men can use their products too. The company will sell so-called discreet versions of pot in the form of edible chocolate, liquid drops, and even bath soaks. That is the news at 4 o'clock, but stay with us because we've got your news coming your way now at 4:30.